All right. It is streaming. All right. Go ahead and give me a little test.
Test, test.
All right. Perfect. Perfect. So, Amber Shook
You got it right.
is she is a major in the Air Force, and
Indeed.
also she played both a fighter and a rogue in two campaigns that I hosted at my house, and there were some interesting things that I saw about your gameplay, so that's why I wanted to bring you on. So why don't you go ahead and let's tell us a little bit about yourself?
About me personally, not my character.
Right. Well, I mean, either way, you
They're
could
they
tell us.
are they are kind of intertwined, personality-wise, I think.
I really, yeah, I agree with you. So as a dungeon master, I play so many different characters. I feel like every one of them is just a little part of me,
Yeah.
and you guys constantly are murdering those parts of me. So like,
Oh.
no, I'm just kidding.
Oh, that makes me so happy.
Just a little part of me just dies every time. So yeah, go ahead. Either one. Tell us about you.
So about me personally, new mama first and foremost.
Yes.
So I feel like I should look at the camera.
Yeah. No. Either way.
New
Whatever's
mom. So I have a little 5-month-old named
Yes.
Liam Henry.
And he's adorable.
You haven't met him in person yet.
I have
don't
never met him in
think.
person, but
Yeah.
I do cyber stalk all of your pictures.
Yes, cyber stalking is fun. Yes, highly encouraged, by the way.
Uh, but you are taking a media fast this
We
month.
are taking a hiatus, yes. So this month, April, is no social media besides like Etsy and Pinterest because that doesn't count to me. That's
Sure.
that's fun.
Well, it's not like you don't you don't feel like you're getting cancer on
Yes.
Etsy or things like that.
Yes.
But
yeah, social media. It just Facebook. It just kind of creeps up. Like, oh, I have 5 minutes. I have 10 minutes.
Right.
Next thing you know, 3 hours later, you're still
like,
on Facebook.
I hit the bottom of the feed and it just refreshed, but I wanted to see what was.
I was almost to the
I
end.
was almost to the end of the internet.
You almost found it.
So are you doing that for like a religious reason or just health,
just
mental health?
mental health break. So yeah, that's one of those things. Like I've been, and I had to unfollow a whole lot of news media outlets because it's just negative story after negative story, and I found it affecting me, like my mood and my outlook on like humanity. Basically, it's too much. So
it turns me from being an optimist into a pessimist.
Yeah.
Really quickly. So it's like because every news story is just
so and so died. This,
right.
Especially when it just started, really pulling at my heartstrings when it's about little babies, and it just kept happening more and more and more, and I'm just like, good night alive. That's, it's too much. So.
Yeah, I can't. There are things that I no longer am able to watch, and I just can't stand after having children.
Yep.
After having any children, it was anything to do. For example, when Robin and I were watching The Walking Dead, the baby that came or whatever in that show. Spoiler alert. So in the comic books that I read of The Walking Dead, the baby doesn't make it.
Oh.
But in the show, I was like, I was saying,
surely,
if anything happens to this kid, this show's over. I'm not watching it. It's dead to me because I can't handle that. And the baby made it.
Oh.
There are certain things that I think that are still they're attempting to keep sacred, and one of those is
that's how
babies.
I feel. And so it's not just that, the whole social media negativity type stuff, but also just I feel like it's important to embrace the downtime. I feel like it's important to have that, I call it that white noise. You need to have that downtime.
Yeah.
I don't know, just as a human, you're supposed to be able to exist with that silence, that quiet time.
Yeah, and the
white space.
There's just so much lately in our modern age. There's no way to turn it off unless you're physically going to make that decision to turn things off and be in the moment.
And that's what it is.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, I applaud you for that.
Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you. I've gotten on it one time. Even though we said we weren't going to do it, I got on it one time. But that was literally because I didn't have someone's phone number. And the only way to connect with them is through Facebook and I wanted to donate something to them. So
as long as you're, it wasn't. I need to get my first relapse out of the way.
Right.
Like, if that was your decision process.
Right.
Yeah. No. So yeah, I have several friends on Facebook who I don't have their personal information, so I can definitely see why.
I don't even know my husband's phone number. Like I don't. If I got arrested, like I'm just gonna have to be like, can I log on Facebook?
Yeah. Well, yeah. No, that would be trouble. That's they should be able to find that out, right?
They
have
should, yeah.
a whole database.
Cyber stalking.
Yeah, exactly.
Just go back to that.
Well, I figure they have everyone's information in their system, anyways.
Someone does.
Somebody has it.
Russia probably has it.
Russia, yeah, but I mean, like, if you get arrested, then they're not. Quick, call the Kremlin.
Right.
They have Amber's information. All right, so you are a pretty regular person, I would say, by the standards of.
By my standards, sure, absolutely.
Well, yes. So I mean, like, I feel like I never met the stereotypical person who plays Dungeons and Dragons. And fortunately and surprisingly, everyone who I have played with at the table, the majority of everyone who has come, like, okay, these are all regular people that do regular things.
Like I played sports,
right?
You know?
Yeah, you weren't confined to your household. Like I did that, but nobody could really tell. So that was.
Ditto. Same here. I have to explain to people that I played sports. Like they don't believe it.
What sports did you play? Was this in high school or college? Or?
So yeah, just in high school. And I didn't do anything in college other than
get through, just survive.
The things that I'm glad social media wasn't around for.
Sure.
Yeah.
So many regrettable things.
So many.
And I have my degree through an online college, and I still regret all the things that I did. So what sports were you into?
In high school, I did basketball, track. I was a cheerleader for 1 year.
What in track?
In track,
were you,
what
part were you in track?
I was a jumper.
Like long jump or triple jump?
Long jump, triple jump, and then hurdles. Right, so 100 hurdles, 300
really?
hurdles. Yeah, all the jumping, high jump.
That's surprising. So you might not be able to tell from the angle. Amber is
short.
She's short. Those were her words.
5.
So I'm using those.
2.5. I claim the half.
But I mean, hurdles is normally everyone who I knew who did hurdles in high school was tall or as tall or taller than I was, and I'm about 6 feet tall. So
fast forward to when I'm an adult and I'm a teacher and a coach. Okay. I coached track and I coached the hurdles.
Oh my goodness!
And I cannot take credit for this at all, but I'm going to. But it doesn't make any sense. Like I coached the girl that won state in the hurdles.
Oh really?
So, yeah.
Well,
I'll put that on my resume.
You have to have really good technique if you're doing hurdles and you're short. So because if you don't, you are going to hit every hurdle.
Every single one. Every one.
And I always
it builds
wondered,
character.
If you put, like, say, the football protective gear on a person and just had them run straight through the hurdles, would they still, with the amount of time that they're saving not jumping over them, be able to make up for all of the penalties that they get through powering through all the hurdles?
If they wouldn't be disqualified, yes, that would make sense. We could go that route.
I maybe don't know enough about hurdles. I also did track. I ran the 400 in high school.
Oh.
And
gotta be fast to do that.
Well, yeah, I was. I am pretty fast. I get in the 90s on my PT test. But what was funny was I went to track because my parents made me, and I wanted to do the pole vault because I thought that was the coolest thing ever. Like, you're using a stick and you're going over a wall. Like, that's awesome. And
it fits into the nerdery that came. I think it came later in life, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I played video games my entire life, and that was my friends.
It's like storming the castle wall.
Yeah, but normally I had an army. So this was me trying to live that dream, and the coach saw me try it once, and he said, "We're gonna have you do the 400. Take the stick away from this kid. Don't give him anything that he could throw or possibly break." I don't even remember it being that bad, but he immediately said, "We need you to
You're
do
a
the
runner.
400." You're a
Yeah,
runner.
look at that. Look what we discovered today.
You can do the one thing that you've been doing since you were a baby. So let's just stick with that.
Yeah, you've had years of experience.
I practiced my entire life for that. And then it turns out I missed. So I went to the track meets, and the track meets are like 3 hours, 5 hours
Or
long.
longer, right?
Right.
Yeah.
They're huge events because there's so many things going on simultaneously. Well, my parents went to my track meet. This is the only time I remember actually going to a track meet, so I probably wasn't very good at
Singular.
this. Right, singular.
One.
This was this one event that I went to because it was probably someone passed the information to my mom, and she's like, "We're going." And then my dad took off work so that he could get there. And my event wasn't in the beginning. It was like right in the middle. And I'll always remember my dad afterwards yelling at me because I missed my run.
Oh, crap.
Which is, there was only like one.
Yeah, the one thing you're there
the whole
for.
day, and he was shouting at the top of his lungs from the bleachers, "Badge, badge!" And I couldn't hear him. I was flirting with the girls who were also running. So I missed my event completely, and I did not make it to state. If that's what you might think. But so you coached hurdles and basketball. You coached basketball too?
I did.
Oh man.
Yeah, I had the JV team, so I assisted with the varsity. It's like it was safe for me to be an assistant coach.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. Again, I'm short, but I feel like I have the desire and the personality of a post player. I want to be that person down low, and that's not my forte, but
sure.
I do what I can.
Life's not going to get you down.
Right.
It already did, so I'm not going to let it do it again. There's one thing I can't have control over, but I'm going to control everything else.
I think that probably says something about my personality a little bit.
So
a bit controlling.
So from that background to the first time that I had spoken with you about playing Dungeons and Dragons, was it Rudy who invited you, or was it Cook? When we were at the other house in San Antonio.
It was Rudy, I think, that invited me first, and
Tony was active.
Tony was there. Yeah, he was there. But Rudy was my my dealer. He's the one that got me hooked.
It's funny. I love Rudy so much, and he's
leaving. I hope he's watching this.
I hope that he is too.
I just sent him a text saying, "WTF, bro." Didn't even tell me.
But he has been a missionary of sorts for all things Dungeons and Dragons.
He did. So the first few times that I played over the other house, I wasn't comfortable with being filmed. Do you remember that whole thing? I wasn't. So Tony was all about.
His Periscope that he was doing.
Yeah, he was doing the Periscope, and I was not. I didn't want to be seen doing it. I didn't want to be, totally affiliated just yet. I was more of a closet, kind of filling it out. And,
sure.
And now I'm doing a podcast.
Yeah. Now here we are.
Here we are. I have my own characters and my own dice, and it's.
Yes, and there's just so much pride in there. And what's nice is that there's been a lot of media that's come out that's positive for Dungeons and Dragons, and a lot of I know it doesn't matter that famous people play Dungeons and Dragons too, but they're being outed by the score. So it's nice to see them all playing D&D, and then people can see it and be like, okay.
Yeah, it's cool now, right?
Yeah, they're not. It's not the stereotypical what people thought in the '70s of people who played Dungeons and Dragons.
Satanic. And,
right.
Yeah, you're all gonna burn in hell.
So between, what do you think made it sound interesting from what Rudy was describing? Like, how did he catch you and say, this is the reason why we're going to go do this?
So I was introduced to nerdery many years ago, actually in college, and I
Is that part of the college experience that you don't want people to know about?
Well, yeah, actually, that was so. I told my husband that I didn't ever date anyone before him.
Sure.
And so back when I had a friend that I didn't.
Yeah, you didn't date.
Yeah, that I didn't date. He was into nerdery, and so that kind of drove me into World of Warcraft.
Oh, okay.
So I played that for a bit. And
all right.
I liked that whole fantasy gameplay. Video games are not my thing. I can't do. I'm a sitting duck, right? Like I cannot play. I've tried Call of Duty.
Oh, like first person shooters.
Yeah, do it.
Like, I die very quickly in those games.
It's fun for me to watch that stuff, but I want to play, and that's not going to end well for me, at all. So, but tabletop games that's more my speed, and so that to me that's kind of what got me into it initially, and just something aside from your typical board games like Sorry, and
right.
Growing up, we've always played board games.
Yeah, Monopoly, Risk.
Yeah.
The standard three that were at everybody's house.
Absolutely, and then you'd have your family arguments, and
right,
and then you're not playing Monopoly for like 2 years.
There's a family ban on it. Yeah. My dad played the worst mind games on all of us, and my mom hated it. So she would ban it because she didn't want to see the monster that my dad would turn into while he's playing. Because he'd pit us against each other. He for example, Risk, as we all know, sure. A game of world domination.
Absolutely.
There can only be one controller of the world.
Yeah.
And so he would have his small corner, and he would very easily convince us. He's like, "Why would you come for me? I'm small. I've got nothing. However, if you take these two right here," and he would just keep like whispering, so you wouldn't know that he was talking to you until it was your turn, and you were trying to make a decision that could possibly affect him.
So it sounds like he would do very well if he were a character on the Game of Thrones.
Yes.
He would be the one of the advisor, right? That's like constantly whispering.
The eunuch.
Yeah, the eunuch. Yeah, not that your dad
his name.
is a eunuch.
No, he's not.
Okay.
He has 6 children, so he's not.
This is
not a eunuch.
This is a family trait then.
Taylor Blade is not a eunuch. Let the world know that. It's all right. He won't watch this. So, and if he does, I love you anyways, Dad.
All good.
So he would probably do very well. I haven't actually watched the show, but I have read the books, and I was disappointed in the books.
I've never read one of the books.
Sure. I've heard though from what people have described, like it's very it follows it very, very closely. I'm not sure about the later seasons. I only read up to the 4th book. And then I realized I was reading a story about people I didn't care about.
Sure.
So I got to the point where I was like, all of these people are terrible. I don't want any of them to win. I'm not rooting for one person.
Well, the people that you care about, they all die.
Immediately.
Right? Spoiler
alert.
If you haven't watched over the last however many years it's been on.
If you haven't been online for the past 3 years where everyone is dropping...
Everyone dies.
Everyone's dropping memes about George R.R. Martin killing every character that you care about. He does that. So be prepared for this latest season that's coming out. Be prepared for disappointment. Because I would find someone, I'd be like, oh man, yeah, okay, I'll read about... No, he's dead. Okay. Yeah. This person's smart. He could... nope, he's dead.
Well, surely he won't get...
Surely he won't get shot.
Surely
by
not
a
this
crossbow
child over here. Oh. No
while
exception.
Pooping. The least dramatic way for someone to go. Yeah, no, that may or may not happen. So possibly spoiler. Anyways, so yeah, Game of Thrones isn't something that I have watched or I'm not rooting for. I'm rooting it for in this sense. I know that so many people who are not nerds were watching it originally for the gore and the boobs.
Sure.
And then it snuck in
a plot.
A plot, yes, one, and fantasy elements.
Yes.
Because when you're originally like reading the story, you're like, okay, these are just regular people. This is like kind of a medieval setting. I can imagine and envision that, and then all of a sudden dragons.
Yeah, and
and like
the
magic.
the winter, you know.
Oh yeah, the White
dead men.
Walkers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, they'll throw all of that in, but they snuck it in.
Sure
So
did.
by the time that you were hooked in it, you're like, all right, yeah, okay, there's dragons.
I want to see what happens.
There's dragons. There's dungeons.
Oh.
And that's how it worked. That's how it's getting people, and and it's being acceptable. And so I'm rooting for it in that sense, because I know that they're doing a good job on production. Otherwise, they would not have made it to the season that they're on.
I am hoping that George R.R. Martin sticks to his, his traits or whatever about killing people, right?
Sure.
I don't want it to be
you don't want
it's
a
a
happy
final
ending.
season. Therefore, let's make everyone happy. Let's make it,
see.
good for TV, good ratings or whatever. So, it's already got fantastic ratings, right?
Yeah.
I want it to. I hope. Hopefully, characters die. Like next episode. Like then what? So, like what if Jon Snow dies? Right? Like
Then who are we going to film?
And the dragons. I don't want the dragons to die, but if they did, then what?
So I think it's funny that you're rooting for the dragons most of anybody, because you were quite enthusiastic about not wanting them to die. I noticed whilst playing Dungeons and Dragons that you have a more of a care.
You're right. You're right.
You're more sensitive to beasts, animals, monsters surviving than sometimes your own party members. So
I think that's accurate. Yeah.
And you have what animals do you have? Do you have rabbits? I can't remember.
I did. I got rid of them.
Oh, okay.
Sad face.
Single.
I got rid of them just because of the baby, right?
Okay.
So it was a bit too much. I have a dog and a cat now.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Then what is it? Jim Gaffigan says, what's it like to have 3 kids? Well, imagine that you're drowning, and then somebody hands you a baby.
I listen to his podcast all the time.
Oh my gosh, I did not know he had one.
Or his Pandora station.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah, I love Jim Gaffigan. And as a parent, it is only funnier and funnier every time you talk.
Oh yeah, every time. So applicable.
So what do you think that stems from? The desire to keep the animals and monsters alive more than
I do. Even the bad ones.
Yes.
Even the bad ones. I'm like, oh, don't kill it. Let's just
let it go. It's not its fault that it was trying to eat us.
It doesn't know better. It was raised that way. I don't know.
It was raised.
That's what it does.
It was raised by drow. We can't expect any better from it.
Right. Absolutely.
All right. So going into Dungeons and Dragons again. Sorry, I'm going to bring it back around to that.
Let's do that.
When you first played it, with your background of having played World of Warcraft, World of Warcraft takes you, it changes how you play video games, because it's no longer we're in a competition, we're in a tournament, this is a match, and we're trying to win. We're not playing Halo where there's, a team versus a team, or everyone's trying to kill each other. There's a story. If you sat down and you were alone, you could play this thing through an entire story, and your character is going through there. So when you were playing Dungeons and Dragons, were there any premonitions to that, or what was it that kept you coming back to the table? Because I've had people who have come and then never wanted to come again.
So I will say, this is not because I'm sitting here with you, but I will say you were a big draw in coming back as the DM. It was just highly entertaining. I don't do obviously I don't do the voices,
sure,
right? I can't do that. But I love hearing you do that. And then the way that you do the storytelling, it was just kind of like, just tell me a story. It was just one of those, and then I get to inject things here and there, right?
Yeah, I think that's it. That is one of my favorite things about D&D, and that's what made me come back, was that I realized this is completely fluid. There's
Oh,
not.
absolutely. Yeah.
This isn't a rigid thing.
Well, and I've seen others where the DMs do it's a little more rigid, and they have an agenda that they're trying to get after. Whereas I've felt like you were more of, let's see where this goes.
Yeah.
Right. And
what do you guys want to do? We want to do
yeah,
this.
I wasn't prepared for that.
All right.
But okay. Well,
let's see where this goes.
let's do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know that she has a bag of holding? I didn't know that she had a bag of holding. That was the one moment that I'll never forget.
Oh man.
Yeah.
There were some fun times in our campaign.
Oh my gosh. Amazing time. So your first character you played was a human, and I think that's a good one to start. I obviously made your character for you. I chose human fighter because it is the most vanilla character that you can make. There's not really any thing that you need to think of mechanically of what you're doing when it's your turn in combat, so you don't get bogged down. Right. Oh my gosh, here's my list of spells. I can only do these, and I can only do this one once a day. You don't need to learn any of that. You're like, all right, how many times can I swing my sword or my axe or whatever? And what blew my mind was when you were your character, and I kept trying to just slowly prompt you for things, because I want people who are newer in the game to have an opportunity to engage with it. I've had friends,
sure, especially because you're not, like I said, I wasn't super comfortable initially, so
well, and
it takes a little prompting,
and you have no idea what to expect. So when you see everyone like Rudy and Tony have no problem whatsoever, giving a speech or trying to persuade the party to go do something. But when you're new at the table, I don't even know what my options are. So those prompts I think are really important. But when I was prompting you for things, what I found was that you were taking your fighter and you were playing it with a criminal background, and I'm a fighter, but I want to steal things. So there wasn't a mechanic that was built for a fighter, but you were still able to pull off. What was it? You snuck into a commander's tent, and then you stole her armor, and they caught you walking out, but you were able to bluff them. You're like, no, she sent me to go get armor because there's a battle coming up.
That's just so crazy.
So seeing that happen was glorious for me, because it was a moment where I could see, okay, she has taken the character now. This is her character. It's no longer Benj, the dungeon master, has made this human fighter for me. Now you are a person who has interests, and even if they are evil,
oh yeah, typically that's kind of my stance.
Right, and you know what? That's okay, because it's a safe place for you to act out evil behavior, where depending on what happens, the party won't think any less of you after you leave the table.
Sure. Oh yeah. Hopefully that's the case.
There's nothing it was terribly shocking that made everyone just
like, whoa.
Let's not hope it comes to that.
Right.
So
there's something to be said for Michelson's character, right? Like it's super good. We're gonna make sure that we bury the body and all that kind of stuff, and doing the rituals and whatnot.
Yeah.
So there's a value in that in the party, and that's just something that maybe in a future character I'll actually get around to doing.
Sure, maybe. And Michelson, if you're watching this,
miss you.
We miss you, buddy. But if you are acting good in game, does that mean you're living out your fantasy of being good in the game?
Interesting.
No, our characters are not the antithesis of ourselves in real life, but it is a place where you can steal things, and there could be repercussions.
You can kill people for no reason,
right? And typically those things are frowned upon in Western culture.
So and, the drug making and whatnot is typically also frowned upon.
Yeah, so let's talk about that.
That was the party. That was the whole party, though. That wasn't
That was
me.
the entire
that
party.
was Steve.
That was me asking in the beginning, what kind of story do you guys want to tell? And what I got back in a message from all of you, and I guess you had been talking about it in a side text group, was we want to all be drug dealers. I was like,
for profit.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, it's not a a non-profit drug dealing ring. No, this was it was quite for profit, and it was a struggling business in Ithon.
And if you kill people along the way, that's fine.
Then it makes sense because you're also drug dealers.
Right. Now how do we get into the business? We mask it as a baking operation, right? Yeah.
Yes, Benjins, beignets.
Yes.
And custards and cream pies.
That are all supposed to be named after different people, different wizards that we interact with.
Oh no, what was his name?
And
Eldrix.
Eldrix Eclairs.
Eldrix
Eclairs.
And you see, I remember because that's part of my personality, and he's in there, and he's a stutterer, and he wants to collect all things magical and find out their secrets and sell them for profit. But
and you could just kept stealing from him over and over.
It was borrowed. You had every intention of bringing back the staff of the Python that was still with Mesa. But what was I going to say? So that whole adventure, the campaign, you guys went down, you found the person who had the mushrooms and brought back the nightshade. No, not nightshade. Gloom shroud.
Yep.
And we're bringing back that to fulfill your basic mission in the beginning, which was to find a way to have a more potent form of drug making for less cost, so you can improve your bottom line. And
along the way, we found, we had the little side stories of me trying to find my father.
Yes,
right?
Yes.
And then
which came as a result of testing the product.
Yes.
In the casino.
There was some visions there.
So
some revelations.
I do want to ask about that. When that happened and your character was having that strange remembrance of a past that was blocked because of the trauma that was there, what was your reaction to that? Because I never really got to ask you, because that was something that I had planned, and I hadn't planned to reveal it in that way, but it was a moment where I thought, this is a place where I can insert this.
It's crazy. You get so tied into your character almost, because this campaign went on for...
It was like a year?
In real world.
In real world time. In the game, it was a couple weeks.
A couple weeks, yeah. Minus that time that we spent out in the astral sea.
Oh yeah, I want to talk about that later too.
So I was tied, to her, and so when she experienced that, it's like it was a little stab, in my heart too. It's like, oh man, it's almost like I remembered that, which obviously it didn't happen to me, but
right.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a place that I could take a blank slate, because when I had asked you about your character and what was their background and everything, you gave me from X year and forward, but nothing from before that. And so I thought, I could plan something.
And that's actually kind of what I wanted. I thought, again, being relatively new, I thought Ben can kind of fill in the blanks here. And,
yeah.
Make this all work, and you did. And
Dungeon Master can do that.
And it hurt a little bit.
And it hurt.
I don't like it.
Are you okay now?
I'm okay. I'm okay now.
Over the trauma?
I think there's still some, some unresolved issues there that I wanted to see Riven live out. Right?
Yeah. We need to.
Because the intention was, I have this baby, and I come back to the game.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then
how?
And then we it was a hiatus that just ended.
Well, there was a few people in the group that needed to
things changed,
to take time out, and I think just Steve and I are the only ones who kept playing. I think Michael, he has like 5 games that he plays during the week, so he probably still does that. But the rest of the group had to take their own time off. So how has that been? Are you do you have availability now? Are we doing this? We're gonna play Dungeons
we can
Dragons
totally do this. Yeah, it's going very well. So he is such a happy baby. He really doesn't. He kind of spoiled us. So we're even.
So you're like, this is so easy. Let's have another baby.
Have another one. It's all good.
It's a slippery
slope. He doesn't cry really unless he really needs something. So
that's good.
It's like he's sleeping through the night now. So now that he gets sleep, I get sleep.
Yeah.
So we're kind of in a routine now.
Oh, that's so important.
Yeah.
The moment when they sleep through the night for the first time. After,
I was scared. I was
like
checking on him every couple hours. Like, is he okay? Like, you're looking at his stomach to see if he's breathing. And
Jet, who is our youngest right now, he's been growing so much in the last 2 weeks. Like he's like, I need to weigh him, but he looks like twice as big. He was born. He's 1 now. So, but anyway, so. Was it last night? It was either last night or it was 2 nights ago. I put him down for like an afternoon nap, so like 1 or 2, and he slept until the next morning.
Good grief!
And so
growing,
with the other kids,
it's tough work.
This is a thing with as a parent, like you've got all the other kids to worry about, so you're taking care of them, and then you put them all to bed, and all of a sudden it was like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen him for 7 hours and he hasn't been making any noise.
Where's that one kid?
So I snuck in there and looked at him and I felt his stomach and I could feel it rising and falling. I was like, oh my gosh. Whew, okay. He's all right. And then I went away and then it was 3 hours later and I was like, oh my gosh, he's still not awake.
Yeah, that's scary.
But he kept sleeping and he doubled in size. So he's
so well done.
So that's the secret. They just need to sleep as long as they can. With our first child, I remember, like you were saying, what we didn't realize is that when he's crying, there's something specific that he's trying to say.
Yes.
And we did not think about that. And we were also living in a place that was super hot. There was no air conditioning in the room, so he was just hot.
Yeah.
A lot. So it was a lot of crying in the beginning, and then it got better afterwards. Yeah. And now with Jet, we're like, there's something. There's one of 3 things. I just need to take care of it. I'll do all 3, and if he's still crying, then there's something I need to do. I'll just hold him or something.
Yep. So that's where we are now. He's teething, I think, now, and so we've had a couple of nights here recently where he's he just wants to be held, just makes him feel better. But everything else is going really well. Very actually surprisingly smooth. Yeah, I mean I did the whole I read the book and
sure. What to expect and you're expecting.
I had that. There's an app now, by the way.
Oh.
So I did the app.
For any of you who are expecting children, download the What to Expect When You're Expecting app. Is it free?
It is free, and it's worth it. It really is worth it. Even if you don't, half of it doesn't apply, or 80% of it doesn't apply.
You're hope that 80%.
You're prepared, right?
Yeah.
So there's one chapter I didn't read, and that's because I thought, that's not going to be applicable to me. Totally applicable. Didn't read it. So don't skip anything.
Don't skip anything. Have you seen that movie, by the way? What to Expect When You're Expecting?
No.
It was a few years ago that it came out. Yeah, it's pretty funny. But
Someone should have told me that was a movie, not just a book.
It's not like it's meant to be entertaining.
Oh.
It's like the woes of different parents who are in different stages of having kids.
Oh.
And so it has hilarious hijinks throughout all of it.
That I'm sure you can relate to.
I can definitely relate to it. There's so many things that have happened in the last even year that it's just insane. From becoming goat owners to chickens and kids and everything else, and it just is so crazy how many different lives that you have to take care of. Okay, so for your character Riven, that was all
girl.
on you. Yeah. So
Yeah.
so when you were creating her, what was the process like? What went into your decision making for
her? So didn't want to be a wizard. I'm not prepared for that level yet.
Yeah.
Right.
You feel
so
like you have to actually have a spell book with you.
Yeah,
in order to
I do. And I'm really not a good D&D player yet. And that's something that I need to work on. Is actually reading the books and getting prepared ahead of time. For me, a lot of it was just coming to the game, coming to the session and sitting down with everyone and kind of learning as everyone else was going through their gameplay and kind of learning from them. These you can do that, like that's cool. So I wasn't prepared for. I knew that I needed time to get something more difficult, right? So something that I could relate to, and like you said, that I could kind of that wasn't too difficult, that I could kind of easily act things out, right? So I wanted to go with a tiefling.
Right. So a half devil.
So she's not fully evil, but she's gonna.
There's something that happened there.
Yeah.
You would have been born a human if your parents had both been human.
Yeah.
So something definitely happened there. I think that tieflings are really interesting. There is. Oh, I don't have the books.
And
I have the ebooks.
I saw a picture, and honestly, as soon as I saw a picture of one, I thought, that's the one. That's what I need to be for this campaign, at least. That's what I need to be. And of course, I wasn't trying to pull a Rudy and change my character 18 times, because that was the deal in the beginning.
That's
Rudy.
a different. Like, I would love to have Rudy on just to ask him about that. But yeah, no, Rudy.
Guys, I promise it's the last time. I'm not going to change my character again.
So I learned a lot from that, but I'll touch on that in a second. So yeah, keep going with Rivet. So you saw the picture of.
So I saw the
tiefling.
picture and I thought that's super cool. And then when I learned that she's evil, or at least tends to be evil, right? Or chaotic, or at least at best neutral. Like she's not a good. Neutral good.
You can be a good, but it's, let's just say the nature side of things is not the odds are not in your favor from the get-go.
It piqued my curiosity. Oh, sorry. So I
good.
thought, I need to. That would be the one that would kind of keep me coming back, right? So that's part of, you ask why did I come back every week? Well, obviously the storyline. But the party members is one thing, but the actual players, that's one thing to bond here.
You didn't have any clashes with anybody who was sitting at the table.
Yeah, no, it was a fun little group, but and then just knowing that I was going to be super tied into my character, and that just made me want to come back. I wanted to see what happened, and I wanted to help her find her dad. I felt invested.
Yes. I don't want to reveal anything. Like, if we ever get back together, I don't want to bury all of that.
It might come back around.
I have so many campaign notes that are shelved and are just like waiting to be brought back out. Even from our previous campaign with Cook, I still have all of those notes.
Oh, wow.
From the
He probably does too,
Vale.
I bet.
Oh, I'm sure he does.
Yeah. Or at least he's got his Periscope.
Yeah. We'll always have Periscope. Now
Cook.
that's owned by Twitter, so
yeah,
that's an interesting thing. Anyways, so so that's good then. The tiefling was going to be enough to keep you coming back and wanting to play your character. So when you chose rogue, uh, what was funny from what you just said, you didn't want to play a wizard. After not too long of us being in our campaign, your character was suddenly able to start casting certain spells.
So I think that was from the party. So she started seeing more, the benefit of it and then kind of, and this is the character, not just me, is the character
Right.
kind of saw the benefit and was intrigued, right? And then in all the travel that we were doing, thought I can kind of come up with, a few little things that I can do, and had some folks that could teach her. So
Right. Yeah, a vendor, our drug using wizard
studious
dropout from college,
Yeah.
dropout from wizard college. um, he it was fun to see his influence, but then also I think what was nice about having a rogue and learning to use magic as a rogue was that it was a small list that you had to manage. Whereas wizards get a vast repertoire that they're constantly trying to seek for more knowledge and more information. Whereas a rogue, I just need it to be dark right
couple
here.
Little things, yeah.
I just need to see in the dark.
I feel like I'm a part of the club now.
Yeah,
I can do one or two little.
Those were nice because that was right about the time when Wizards of the Coast came out with a new alternate rule set for just tieflings.
Yeah.
So you can bring on. Oh man, which devil was it? It was the Lair of the Nine Hells that has the all of the laws and where they do their rule making. I can't remember right now off the top of my head. I'm ashamed.
I'm super ashamed.
I should know
that. I want to say a word, but I'm pretty sure it's just a Russian word. It's not the devil's name. It's not da. Da means yes.
Da does mean yes, but it's like two
something,
letters or something like that.
So close.
It's so close. It's right there on the edge of my head. Anyway, so yeah, so being a descendant of that particular.
It starts with a D. I know that.
Dissipator.
That's what it was.
It was the plane itself is dis.
Yep.
Dissipator. We got there, people. Yeah. Well, so the campaign that I have currently been running, we have not dealt with the Nine Hells at all. So it's been a seafaring campaign. Actually, what happened was after the group fell apart, I found a group that needed a player. I was like, oh, I haven't made a player in a long time. So I made a tiefling monk.
What?
And I made it a her.
What?
And her name was Kyra.
Very cool.
And
did she have a pet?
No, she didn't. There was a boy that
she didn't have a fascination with like writing things like I did.
No.
the lizard and the whatever it was. I just wanted to the chicken.
Which on that, needing to ride all of these animals was the reason I made that saddle.
Insert joke here.
So I made that magic item specifically for your character.
Oh, that's awesome.
Because I was like, she's going to try it anyways. I might as well make a mechanic for this. Yeah, if you can successfully get it on the animal, it will work on it.
Yeah, the tarantula, the giant spider.
The giant lizard was the test.
Yeah.
That was oh wait, hold on, you polymorphed it. With the wand of polymorph.
Yeah.
Oh dang it! What was the other thing that we were talking about right before then? I got
different things that the tieflings were allowed to do with the new expansion.
Yeah, so many different
rules.
Yeah, it was amazing. Like, and it was depending on the layer of the Nine Hells that your character was from, basically, or not from, but one of your parents was from.
Yeah.
And it made it completely like you could be from a layer that gives you, like, you can summon fire and burn people, or you can steal life, or you can charm people, or and I thought that was interesting that you chose it was darkness, and I think was it Devil Sight? No, Michelson got Devil Sight from his warlock patron. There was something else that you could do.
Yeah, there were a few things that I would. I was able to do.
You could see through the other side of physical doors.
That was prior to. Yeah. That was fun. That blew your mind too.
Yeah. That was that was when Steve ran as the DM.
Yeah.
I gave him when he was running as the DM. I gave him.
Like, I wasn't prepared. I didn't know what to do.
I said, okay, in this place, they're looking for this person, but her sister's going to be there. So I want. And it wasn't your sister. It was your half sister. Spoiler alert. She's a Cambion, and so she looks kind of like a tiefling. But more devil looking than a tiefling, because tieflings actually have more human features than a Cambion does. A Cambion just looks like the stereotypical devil who's wearing like a vest and is dressed very nice and everything. So unbeknownst to Riven, it was the half sister that was leading you in there
that I didn't know I had.
Right.
Yeah.
And she was trying to get your actual sister, and the plan was she was going to get to your sister and grab her and then take her through a portal with her to the Nine Hells. So
really,
you completely stopped that from happening. Like that was, I was like, okay, just build it up to this moment and have that happen at the end of it. And I'm like, I want to come in right at the end of that. And he texted me after. He said, so none of that happened.
I did not know that.
Because she had a spell on her that made her look like your sister, so you thought it was your sister who's leading you in there to get your dad.
Yep, but I realized that
your
wasn't.
Actual sister was on the inside of the cell because you could see through the other side of the door because magic, and it was perfect. I can't. That's the kind of things that like you can't plan for that. I mean, like you okay, so yeah, obviously.
Well, I hadn't pulled a move like that either, right? Up to that point, like I didn't know how to do anything.
You're like, hold on, I've got a thing for this. We don't know what's on the other side of the door. This spell does that. Does that? I don't even know what that spell is. You look it up. It's one of the like 3 things that it says it does. Yeah.
Because most of the doors that we tried to open up to that point, something bad is going to happen.
Oh,
so I thought
traps.
instead of setting off some of these traps, why don't I just look on the other side?
So it was Steve's fault after all, because he had been making you nervous about doors, and for that reason, he gave it away. Yeah, so I never got to get to that moment, and then I came in and had to then bring the party back together because Benjen had been taken prisoner and tortured.
Pretty sure we all leveled up.
Everyone leveled up.
Yeah.
Oh yes, and
we got like a ton of points
level.
And like all kinds of money. It was awesome.
You give Steve just one night in charge, and he does everything. No, I loved it because when I was listening,
I think someone almost died. Like, was it a vendor that almost died, or?
Yes, a vendor. Yeah, he took a lot of damage. Benjen also almost died because he was in the cell.
That's right. Yeah.
And he was being tortured, and then the ley lines of magic in the world that were crossing in that area. A vendor was interacting with them, and that's what made him level up. And that surge of power made the entire prison just kind of like implode and collapse and start shutting down. And that's how he was able to escape, fortunately. Yes. He kept telling me, and it was making me nervous because that's how Steven plays. He's like, you never give your characters last names because they're not going to last very long. So don't get attached to them. And this is like the character, he gave his character from the beginning a last name. He's like, so I want you to know I'm super attached to my character, but don't let that stop you because I have 5 other characters that I've already built.
And I did not. I had none. I had no other. So there's several times that Riven almost died.
Yes.
That I thought, I don't know. I'm going to take one of Rudy's 18 characters because I'm not prepared for this.
I think with every combat, there was at least one person who went unconscious or dropped below 0 and then was fortunately able to be saved. One got real close. I think it was Michael's. No. It was a vendor on the airship.
Yes. He died. He actually
because he was on your carpet, and you jumped off the carpet, and he was still on it. And so he was trying to shoot down off the carpet and got hit by a boulder and knocked off. And he's a wizard; he doesn't have very many hit points, so he started dying. And Michael made it just in time to save him. No, was it Michael? Oh yeah, because you had a healing potion, but you went inside the ship to save the Modron.
Yeah.
It was a moment where you could have chosen from the
It
airship.
was Michael. Yeah.
To climb down and save a vendor who you saw go off, or to go in the ship and save the little mechanical eyeball, the Mike Wazowski that you guys did.
That did happen. Yeah. There's one time that I could have saved. What's her name? Martha. Is it Martha?
Yeah, Martha. That was Michael's character.
Yeah. Oh, I could have saved her. And I thought, oh no, someone will be behind me. Everyone else saw that too. I really want to go get after this. Go get the Modron. It was like time sensitive. For some reason, I thought it was time sensitive.
It was because he had already suffered one failed death saving throw, and you only get 3, and then you're dead. You're dead. You're not mostly dead. You're all the way dead.
But did you die?
but did you die? Yeah, you almost did.
I think I actually said, I didn't apologize or anything. I was just like, yeah, but you're fine. Yeah. You're healed. So.
So what I wanted to bring up with Rudy's characters, we only have a few minutes left here, but I learned as a dungeon master a lot of things from that experience, because he wants to have the optimal build, which that's fine. I don't mind people who play like that. I don't play like that personally, because I like to make my character make my decisions for me. So when I'm that person, I'm not thinking
they have flaws.
Oh, 3 levels from now, I need to take this so that I have this when I'm level 15 or something. I don't think like that. I take it level by level and try and just, what would I do? And I think Steven plays like that a lot too, which is why he's a chef. Anyways, what was interesting with Rudy, I learned that I can't force his new character into the party.
No.
And when I tried to do that, everyone immediately distrusted him and kept him as an outcast. I was like, oh gosh, I am messing this up for everybody. And I felt so bad after. But what I think is important is for everyone who's sitting at the table to have a reason to be working
and to
together.
Embrace. Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Because when you don't, there's that disjoining person, and they can outcast themselves, or the entire group can just treat them as an outcast. Like, you haven't earned your place in here yet, so we're not.
Yeah, it had only been a few weeks in gameplay, but we had done a lot together, so we all knew each other really well. So to bring in someone new at that later on could have been fine,
right. But I needed to ask everybody, or
find a way to tie it into each of their storylines a little bit,
or just to have you all sit and decide, why is this person going to be with us, and then have that happen instead of me being like, okay, this is why this person's with you, because it didn't work. And I think that was a big thing that I learned from that.
I like how we were just like, the whole group was just ready to kill the new person. Like, a couple of times we're like, let's just kill him. He
stages the revolt with all the animals. He rides in on a dragon. No, we don't want him coming with us. Well, I didn't foresee that. No, he's in the middle of the night. All these monsters are attacking. He's riding a dragon. Yeah, obviously, no, we don't want that guy.
Yeah.
Oh, mercy. Yeah. So, I did want to say, thank you for being a great player at the table. I think that you brought a lot and a different an aspect to the game that wasn't there with just our group that we had. I think that you made it a very unique experience, and it changed the entire dynamic.
Huh.
Because the majority.
Because I didn't know what I was doing. Yeah.
So one, everyone feels like you're their little sister. Like, oh, we got to take care of her. She's at the table. But then it also made everyone kind of cognizant of the so there was a difference in the manner of questioning that you would have, whereas everyone else, well, you would look for loot too and things like that. But when we were engaging with characters, you would try and find something different about that character. Like you would ask questions that were more on a connection level. So like why is this person doing this? Or you would ask them things, whereas everyone else is just kind of, okay, we don't need to know that. Let's move along. But it made for strange moments where we had a high priestess who is suddenly involved with everyone in the party, and it made for these moments where like the owner of the casino wanted to he had a reason then to try and give a favor for the party and everything, so it was a little different. So
I know there's times that it slowed down the game, where I could see, Rudy and even, a couple others like, oh my God, why is she asking this question? I'm like, I want to know, that goes back to the whole storytelling, I want to know their story too, but I really appreciate you guys being patient with me when I'm like, I don't know, how do I come up with that? How do I do the weird D&D math? Right? Like, I don't know all the rules because I don't take the time to sit and read the book like I should. But the more, I didn't even own the books until, later on in the campaign. Like, the more I got into it, the more I wanted to get into it. And, I want to do that now, like going forward, I want to be prepared, with my character. I want to know the levels. I want to know the different options, that things that happen at level 4 and level 8 and whatever.
Sure. So I guess now the question is, now that we are at this level, is there any way that you would allow Zach to, or Zachary? Is it go by Zach? No,
yeah, it's Zach.
You would never play with
no,
Zach. Okay.
No.
Well, there you have it.
Sorry. So here, I can tell you why. Because I think he would have a hard time distinguishing between gameplay and interaction gameplay.
Yeah.
And real life.
Right.
Because I think it would like that would go home with us. Like, you really felt that way about so and so. Like, oh my goodness. That's
okay. Yeah. So then.
But I appreciate him being he's super supportive of my nerdery, right?
Sure.
So he actually even encouraged me to come, because it's been a minute since I've had Liam and I haven't really been engaged in this kind of stuff. So he actually said, you need to go and
that's great.
Get a little bit of your D&D fix.
Well, thank you for coming and for talking D&D, and hopefully
Thanks
next
for inviting me.
We'll have Steve back.
Fix your car, Steve.
Fix your car. Why do you got to break your car right before we're going to start streaming? Anyways.
It would have been good to see you, Steve.
So do you have anything else that you would like to say before we close here?
Happy Easter.
Happy Easter,
right around
everybody.
The corner.
My goodness. Everybody just roll for initiative, and we'll see how Easter goes for you. All right. Thanks again, and you're amazing. So
thank you. You too.